everyone, Miss Sam back from the library. Today's video is going to be the next installment in my crochet series. Today I'm going to go over how to crochet a slouchy beanie. Now, I feel like I should have said this in my last video, and so I'm going to say it now. I'm really not a crochet expert. You know, I know enough to get you started, but I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I like to show my mistakes so that you can see what can go wrong, right? So, for example, I have the practice hat that I made for this video, and it is gigantic. It came out so big, all right? And that happened just from one extra row. I just added one row that I didn't need, and it got way too big. And I kind of have a big head. Yeah, I mean, look at this thing. It's so big. It's really comfy. I really like wearing it around the house. It's cozy, but it's not really something that I would wear out. So we're going to go over sizing the hat so that you don't make this mistake. So you pay attention to what you're doing and don't do what I did. My phone is going off. Whatever, I'll look at that later. Okay, so to crochet a hat, you start with a circle, adding stitches as you go to widen out to the size you need. And then you stop adding stitches and you do the same number around and around. And then that's how you get the cylindrical shape of the hat. You know, you start with the circle and then you just go straight up and it makes the hat shape. Okay, so how to size a hat. I have one of these, a little measuring tape used for sewing and crafting and things. If you don't have one of these, just use a piece of string and measure that. But basically, you just take it, wrap it around your head exactly how a hat would fit. Wherever it meets, pinch right there, and I get about 23 inches. I have a big head, whatever. In order to make a 23-inch hat, the crown needs to be about 7 inches in diameter, 7 inches across. So if I measure this circle right here, I get like exactly 7 inches. What happened here was that for some reason I kept going. I added another stitch after, not another stitch, another row, whatever. And it ended up just getting way too wide. It's really big. It's not very stylish at all. So you want to watch the sizing of the hat. Because it's also going to vary with the yarn you use and the hook you use. So I'm using Red Heart brand Super Saver yarn. That's a really basic, cheap, medium weight yarn, very common, easy to come by. And a size I hook that's also 5.5 millimeters. So if you were to use a finer yarn and a smaller hook, it's going to take more rows to get out to that 7 inches. So for me, this took 5 rows to get to the 7-inch circle that I needed. If I was using a finer yarn, it would take more rows. If I was using a chunkier yarn, it would take fewer rows. So as long as you know how to size it with the measurements, you can use any yarn you want to make whatever look you're going for. I used what I did because I wanted a loose, drapey kind of fit. You know, we're doing the slouchy beanie, so we want it to kind of hang in the back nicely. Okay, where am I? That's all probably a little confusing, so I'm going to link below to actually another tutorial. In it is a chart of all the hat sizes from like a preemie baby up to a large adult. with the size of the circle that you need to make that hat. So I'm going to link to that. Check out that chart. Choose the size you want, and then that's when you know when to stop adding stitches and making your circle. So that's a lot of talking. I'm going to switch my camera around and we're going to get started. I can show you this a little more close up, and we'll start from scratch and make a hat. So here we go. Okay, so we're back. Let's look at this a little bit more closely. So you're going to start with a small circle. I'm going to show you how to make that. A ring really is what you're going to start with. And then you do 10 stitches in the ring, and then you add 10 stitches each row until you get to the size you need. In this case, for my big head, we need 7 inches. All right. So let's get some fresh yarn and get started here. So you're going to start with your slip knot, just like any other project. And you're going to chain 4. Remember, we wrap the yarn around, pull through, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now to make this into a ring, all you have to do is connect it back to the beginning of the chain. So you're going to go in over here, wrap that yarn around. This part can be a little tricky when you're starting out. Wrap that yarn around, pull it through both of those loops, and now you have a small ring to crochet into. So we need 10 stitches to start. So remember, the chain 3 is the starting stitch from last time. Same thing. 2, 3. There's our first stitch. Now we need 9 more. Sorry, just straightening everything out a little bit. So just like before, yarn over. The hook is going to go into the ring here, right through the middle. Pull up a loop, just like last time. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we have 2 stitches in our ring, and we just keep going. Okay, so now we have our 10 stitches in our ring. We need to connect back to that chain 3, to that first stitch. So we're going to insert the hook into the top of that chain, yarn over, pull through, and pull that right through with a slip stitch. And now you have your first row of 10 stitches. So now we need to start adding 10 stitches every row. So to do that, for row 2, you're going to put 2 stitches in every stitch around so that you have 20. Let me show you how to do that. We're going to start with our chain 3 like always. So we need 2 stitches in each stitch around. So we're going to put another stitch in the same spot. Now we have 2 stitches in the first stitch, and we're going to keep doing that. So 1, 2. Maybe I should slow that down a little bit. You can already see my circle buckling a little bit. This is what I was talking about when I was saying that I'm not a perfect crocheter. I definitely have trouble keeping my circles flat. Even this one, you can see it wants to curl up a little bit. So I'm not sure how to fix that if you're having the same problem. I think it might be something with my tension. I'm kind of a white-knuckled writer. If you know, I hold the pencil really tight. I hold the crochet hook really tight. You know, I have to really think about loosening up my tension so that things don't buckle quite as much. So just a little tip, you know, watch your tension. You don't necessarily have to hold it so tight, you know, hanging on for dear life like I do. Just hold it nice and easy. Whoops, I dropped it. There we go. So we're almost done with the second row here. Now for the third row, we don't want to do the same thing. We don't want to do 2 stitches in each stitch, because then we'll end up with 40, right? We have 20 right now. We don't want to double it again. We just want to add 10. So we're going to go ahead and close the circle, chain 3. So for this row, row 3, we're going to do 2 stitches in the first stitch, and then just 1 in the next stitch. Let me show you that again. 2 stitches, and then 1 stitch. I messed up somewhere. Oh well. We're just gonna have to keep going. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. I messed up the pattern somewhere. $28, $29, $30. Okay, so here's an example of me fudging the rules a little bit. Somewhere I messed up the pattern and I don't feel like going back. So my last few stitches have 2, but I have the correct number, so I'm just going to pretend nothing happened. This could affect the shape of the hat, but probably not, because this is such a simple pattern. You know, there's math involved, but you can kind of fudge it a little bit if you mess up, if you know what I mean. Okay, so there's an example of me not being perfect and being lazy and showing you how to do the same thing. You're welcome. Okay, so now for the 4th row, we have 3 rows now, 30 stitches. For the 4th row, we need to add another 10. So we're going to do 2 stitches in the first, 1 stitch, and then 1 stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's do that. Chain 3, insert hook into the same stitch, one in the next stitch, one in the next stitch, whoops, and then we'll repeat the pattern. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You see how I'm counting that pattern out? On the first row, it's just 1, 10 stitches around. On the second row, it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. On the third row, it's 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. You see how I do that? That's how I keep track of it in my mind. Because especially when you're learning, it can be hard to see all the little stitches and what's going where, you know, until you get used to it. So I just count like that, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And I know I'm following the pattern all the way around. 1 and 2, and the first, then 3, whoops, and 4. And this is the pattern you follow all the way around until your hat is wide enough. And I'm talking, I'm probably going to mess this up again. That's probably why I messed up row 3. So we'll see how this one comes out. I swear it was perfect when I did the practice one. I got it exactly right. I was so proud of myself. And of course, when I go to shoot the video, that's when I start messing it up. Oh well. But none of us are perfect. So, you know, why should I tell you you need to crochet perfectly? It's just for fun. It's just a hobby, right? Alright, that row came out right. So see, I do kind of know what I'm doing. I'm not a complete fool making these videos. Alright, so let's quickly measure that to see where we're at. This is 4 rows. That gives us about 5.5 inches. That would be a pretty small hat. That would be a hat for like a kid. So I'm going to go ahead and do the 5th row, just like this one, and that should make a pretty average size hat. On the big one I had 6 rows in the circle. But anyway, for row 5, you're going to follow the exact same pattern. 2 in the first stitch, and now we're going to do 1 in the next 3 stitches. And I like to count that the same way. I count 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, and 5. That's just my trick for counting it, for keeping track of it. I didn't learn that anywhere. That's just what made sense to me. If that makes no sense to you, ignore me. But that's how I keep track of it. And when we're talking about the sizes of hats, you know, a lot of these measurements, especially something like a slouchy beanie, it's very approximate. You know, it clearly, so with 4 rows, I have 5.5 inches. With 5 rows, that suddenly jumps to 7 inches. I can't, with this yarn and this hook, I can't really get any other size in between. But that's okay too. It's just, it's not a precise kind of pattern, if you know what I mean. And yeah, it buckles a little, but let's measure it. 7 inches. Beautiful. So now we want to stop making the circle bigger. We want to stop adding stitches. I'm at row 5, so I have 50 stitches all the way around. I'm just going to do 1 stitch in each stitch around from here on out to finish the hat. So I've got my starting chain. I'm going to yarn over. I'm not going to go here like I have been. We don't want to add a stitch. I'm going to go here in the next. Hopefully you can see that. And just do 1 in each row. Now you can stop counting. This is the fun part. This is the part when you can just turn on the TV or play some music, maybe a podcast, and just zone out. No more counting. Whoops, it would help if I didn't drop the stitch. Getting to the end of my row here. You want to make sure you don't, this space where the chain 3 starts can kind of look like a stitch. It's not. You want to make sure, even if you have to count, and make sure it's 50 or however many stitches for your size hat. But we're just going to close that up like every other row and continue. And this is all you do for the rest of the hat until it's long enough, you know, until you get the look you want. I usually just try it on until I like it. So I'm going to keep going around and around and around, and I will show you how to finish it off. I'm at the end of my last row here. My hat is long enough for the look I'm going for, and we're going to do a row of slip stitches around the base of the hat just to give it a nice finish. So I'm going to connect the end of my row to the chain 3 at the beginning, just like always. And now we're just going to do slip stitches all the way around. So I'm going to go into my first stitch, pull up a loop, and pull that right through. And I'm just going to keep doing that all the way around. It's just going to give it a nice finished edge. You could leave it with just the double crochets at the end. You could do a a little brim with some single crochets. I haven't taught you that yet, how to do single crochet, but it's another option. But I like this. Like I said, just gives it a nice, whoops, finished edge. There we go. You can see it's not super noticeable, but you do get that almost like braided look at the bottom. I'm back at the beginning because I see my seam here of those chain 3s, and I'm just going to connect back to the beginning here with a slip stitch, pull that out, and now we can finish this off. So we're going to, whoop, there goes my hook. Okay, we're going to tie this off. And now you have this tail here. We want to weave that in. So I'm going to turn the hat inside out. And to weave it in, what I do is I just kind of pull it through random stitches, just as long as it doesn't show through to the front. I just sort of randomly, there we go, start pulling it through. And this way your tail is just hidden. It's not showing on the outside or anything like that. Whoops. I only grabbed part of the yarn there. I didn't grab the whole strand. There we go. There we go. Pull that through, and then you don't even have to do this for the whole thing. You can cut that off. So I'm just going to trim that right there, flip this back out, and there you go. A very basic beanie. Very easy, very simple. And you can try it too. So here is the final product. This is what the hat came out like. I thought I'd show you how it looks. It's a little snug, but definitely better than that first practice one I made that was way too big. So this was made, remember, using a 7-inch circle for the crown of the hat. So this is how it comes out. Thought you might like to see. Thanks for watching. Next time I'll do probably single crochet or maybe a compilation of a couple different stitches so that you can move forward with your projects a little bit more. Probably going to do one on the classic granny square as well. That's a really common crochet technique, so we'll see what I get around to doing next. But thank you for tuning in. Keep an eye out for more videos. Check out our programs on our website, dcls.org, and we hope to see you soon. All right, bye-bye.